Hi there, my name is Filament and welcome back to Dreamate Model. Today I bring you Red Wine Drunk Randy Marsh from the South Park series. South Park is one of my favorite shows, and this character appears in the Factured but whole video game, and his part is the funniest of that game. So I decided to model that character from that part. As always, I'm going to show you the entire process of creating this character from the conception to having it in the palm of your hand. As always, I'm going to tell you how much filament I use and how much it costs to print a model like this one, so later if you decide to print this model, you already have this information. So without any further ado, let's see how I model this character. So to start modeling Randy Marsh, I used the software ZBrush, and in ZBrush I imported a 3D sphere to create the head. As you can see here, I used the mask tool to create the hair of him, and then I start to tweak it here and there to create like the messy hair that he wears. In here I imported a 3D sphere to make the eyes, and did again the same process of using the mask tool to create the eyebrows. As here, in here I'm using the mask tool as well to create the eyelids and making it look like he's really drunk, so I put the eyelids a little bit lower to look like he's really almost fading out. In here I'm creating the nose and the mustache. For the nose I use the move tool to move a little bit of the area where the nose should be, and for the mustache I did again the same thing. I used the mask tool and then I extracted the area where the mustache should be. To create the teeth, I used the cube option, and then I imported to create the teeth. Moving on to the main body. In here I use the Z-spheres, and the Z-spheres is a tool that ZBrush has that allows us to create the shape of the body and then creating the pose that we want to create our model. When I thought that the pose that I wanted was completed, I started to create the shirt that he wears. So here I'm using the mask tool to create that enrolled t-shirt that he wears. So I extract it again, and then I started to create some effects to look like the t-shirt is really enrolled. To create the pockets, I use the standard tool from ZBrush to create the outline of the pockets. I use the smooth tool to smooth the area around the pockets to look more realistic. Here I'm inserting the pen that he wears. There are actually 3 of them, so this is a pretty easy process. I only had to import some cylinder and then duplicate them until I reached the number 3. Here I'm tweaking a little bit of the legs, and here I'm making the t-shirt to look like he's really clumsy and he doesn't care if his t-shirt is straight or not. So to create the feet, I imported a 3D sphere and start to shape the feet. The feet, they have pretty easy shape, they're just basically roundish. The hands, they are pretty easy to model too. The only thing that I had to worry about here was to create the side finger, and that was pretty much it. To create the bottle, I used the SolidWorks, but I'm going to show you that process later. Here I'm just adjusting the hand to fit the bottle and to look like he's really holding it, and that was basically it regarding the modeling process. Here I'm just painting the model to render it later. Now that the character is modeled, let's talk about how I print this model. I use my i3 Mega printer to print this character, and this was an overall easy print to do. It didn't require as much support as the other models that I already create, and I print this model in just one sitting. As always, I'm going to leave on the description below the settings that I used to print this model, so if later you decide to print this model, you can check them out. And now, let's see how I printed and painted this model.
As I always do when I'm painting my models, the first thing I do is I apply a first layer of primer filler to cover up the imperfections that the print has, so later those imperfections could be removed when I'm sanding it. To paint the model, I mostly use the airbrush. As you can see here, I was painting the legs, and here I use the paintbrush to paint the t-shirt that he wears. I use the paintbrush method pretty much in this model. Actually, I use it to paint everything. I chose to use the paintbrush because this model is not that big and I prefer to paint smaller areas with a paintbrush.
And there you go, a 3D model of red wine drunk Randy Marsh to proudly display on your shelf. And now, let's get with the stats. This model is 12 centimeters high, weighs around 40 grams, and took overall 3 hours to print. The filament I used was the SUNLU PLA Plus that costs 20 euros for 1 kilo, so overall this model costs to print just 1 euro. As always, I'm going to leave the link to download this file on the description below, along with the settings that I used to print this model. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, please subscribe and like this video to keep up to date with my models and support this channel. Thank you for watching, and remember, dream on!